Hello, welcome to Frank's School. I'm. I said I was going to take a while with this, take my time with this, and I am. My subject, my principal subject, is a recommended tour itinerary for traveling to Europe, Portugal, and the Alps. But I'm giving prequels, and there's reasons for it. This is my second uh, prequel to it. The first was about my travel from Africa through the. This is about a journey in South America. And anyway, you should probably know that if you just saw that. I described in the last video this big loop that we took, and I said Rio Preto. I think it's Rio Negro. I think is the name of that river that comes in from the north to join the Amazon. Not important. Anyway, I'm sort of talking around a story I have to tell about Yungay and Huascaran. Uh, and so I'll save that for the next video. I don't want, I want to give the context. After Joyce and I had flown across the Andes, landed in Lima, we were there in Lima, I think about a day, and almost immediately the art, the art began to impress us. I mean, here was something genuinely different. The art was art made for tourists, mostly, everywhere. But already, I mean, you could see, even though it was made for tourists, that this was different. And maybe I, now's as good a time as any to explain about that. That in Peru, even though I had been in Africa, I'd been in Morocco, I'd been in Europe, that was the first time that I really had the feeling that I was in the midst of a different, truly different culture. This was pre-Columbian. Now, people spoke Spanish, but the natives also, their language is Quechua. Up in the mountains, Quechua was what was spoken, but it wasn't that. I mean, this was an entirely different culture and people. It was not Western, and it was the first time, and it certainly showed in their art. Um, anyway, we then made this loop. There's a mountain range here. This is the Pacific Ocean here, and there's a mountain range here, and there's a fancy word for it when you've got a valley that goes between mountain ranges. I can't remember what it is. But anyway, we had gotten the recommendation from a man named Peter Oakley, who was the Oxfam representative in Recife, Brazil. Oxfam is a British charity organization, Catholic. And he had lived in Peru, and he said, here's his recommendation, and I thank him greatly for it. He said, make a loop, go up to Trujillo, and then go up into the mountains, and go along that road, and then back to Lima. And we took his advice. Now, at that time, there was no train. I'm very sure that now there's a train from Lima to Trujillo. This is one of the driest areas of the world. It simply never rains there. And what Joyce and I did was, I think it was real early in the morning, dark still, that we got a colectiva, I think is what it's called. It's like a taxi that a bunch of people share. I think that's how we did that drive along that desert, along the coastal desert up to Trujillo. And I think it had to be real early in the morning, because in Trujillo we caught a train. And at that time, I don't know if the train still runs. I don't know. I could look. I could research it, but we took a train up into the through a gap in the mountains up into the Callejon de Huaylas. Callejon de Huaylas. And there we then went back to buses, little buses or colectivas, to make this journey. The first night we got as far as Yungay, and there we stayed 2 days. Now, in Trujillo, one of the things I mostly remember about that train is getting on that train. There was a Quechua woman, a Peruvian native woman, that had a little tiny dog in her shawl that was on her back, like you might imagine Africans carrying her baby. As I recall, it was back there. She was carrying her little tiny dog on the train, her pet. And that also was so different because from Brazil, the Brazil that we knew, those people in many ways were hard. Those nordestinos, the sertanejos, the people that lived in the northeast of Brazil, not the Amazon, mind you, the northeast of Brazil, they were hard, and to see, and they didn't have that kind of relationship with pets, a little dog like I saw, and to see that, I thought, wow, that's, because this was a poor woman. But anyway, I remember that. Anyway, we spent the day there, and this will be my next subject. That's what I'm sort of talking around. Then we went on to Huaylas, which is the biggest, I guess you could call it a city, in the Callejon de Huaylas, and then got one of those colectivas back to Peru. So we did that loop. And I'm telling you all about this because of formative days. That's what it really has to do with the Europe trip, Portugal and the Alps. There were some formative days involved here. And so I mostly just gave you the route. Next time I'll talk about these two. Bye for now.